out there believe you can? Anybody out there believe you can? Anybody out there believe you can?
Anybody out there believe you can? Anybody out there believe you can? Anybody out there believe you can? Anybody out there believe you can? Anybody out there believe you can? Anybody out there believe you can? Anybody out there believe you can? Anybody out there believe you can?
All right, so Jenna, she told us about it, right? Yeah. Do you know that you can? Yeah. Well, if you don't, the choir's going to tell you a little something. Are you ready, choir? Yeah. Are you ready to receive it? Yeah. Are you ready to give it? Yeah. Well, here we go. You ready? Yes.
You know you can. You know you can. You know you can. Everybody out there, we know you can. We know you can.
We know that for you.
We know you can. We know you can. Everybody out there, we know you can. Yes, I can do it.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I can do it. Yes, I can. 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 Yes, I
Jenna Hooker on the vocal.
I want to talk about forgiveness, and I want to talk about it at two levels. The first level is that it will be very difficult to thrive if you hold things against other people. How many of you know that you've done that? You certainly don't do it now, but you've done it. That's just it's almost like basic metaphysics. And I have taught forgiveness for as long as I can remember. I love forgiveness. It's a powerful practice. For many years, we would spend August talking about forgiveness and all the levels of forgiveness. But I wanted to narrow it down to how it affects our ability to thrive, to do well, to have a sense of well-being. I'm basing my talks on Mae McCarthy's book, The Path to Wealth. She goes to our center. She's used these principles to prove an amazing life. Then she wrote the book. It's on the best-selling Amazon best-selling list. And so I'm going to give you Mae's basing. If you read this, it's based a lot on a certain person I like, Emma Curtis Hopkins, and Florence Shinn. So it's Florence Shinn, Emma Curtis Hopkins, interpreted by Mae McCarthy, and then I'm interpreting her. So, this is about the third generation. So lots about forgiveness in here. And let me just boil this down to why this is important to you if you want to have a thriving life. This comes from Ayanna Van Zandt. Is it Ayanna? Ayanna. Who is this? Anyway, Van Zandt, Ms. Van Zandt. When you withhold forgiveness or love from anyone for any reason, it diminishes your awareness of the abundance of good in your life. It's almost like one of those counting things. And I did read a whole article on the science of counting. And how many of you, if you have something against somebody, you count all the ways that you have things against them, and all the times they do it again. So it's a counting thing. You are stuck in so much old stuff, new stuff has no way of getting to you. In essence, the good that you withhold from others will be withheld from you. So let's just take a deep breath there. And let's just have a healing. We all know this stuff. This really is a spa. This is a gym. This is a God gym. We're here to not just know more stuff, we're here to practice that stuff. So if you have anything against anybody, just breathe it out now. And it'll come up again. And then we breathe it out again. And there's all sorts of forgiveness practices. I could go on and on and on. There's probably CDs of talks in the bookstore. There's so many things you can do. I praise you, I raise you in the name of love, you wonderful person. I praise you, I raise you again in the name of love. Until something shifts, and then all of a sudden you can do that. There's practices for that. I love you, I bless you, I forgive you now. I love you, I bless you, I forgive you now. And you might have to do it a lot. And that's not, it's okay to do it a lot. Peter came to Jesus and said, how many times do I have to forgive? Because probably Jesus had been talking about forgiveness. And he said 7 times? He actually said that 7 times, like, look, I'm going to do it 7 times. And Jesus said, no, 70 times 7, which means forever. It's an Aramaic idiom, forever. You don't get off the forgiveness train. You can, but then you're walking. I'd rather take the train. So forgiveness is something that you do until you feel complete. But most likely somebody else bumped into you while you're forgiving that person, and then you get to do it again. And we do it, and we do it, and we do it. I could do a whole talk on that, but I want to elevate this conversation. So we're going for forgiveness 12.9. And I want to shift a little bit to a new phase of forgiveness. Last week, I talked about God as our source, that if you need something, instead of looking to others to give it to you, you look to God. If you want to be appreciated, you look to God. If you want to be recognized, you look to God. If you want to be supported in a financial way, you look to God. If you want to be loved, you look to God. God as your source. How many of you were here and got that? All right. If not, it was a great talk. I can honestly vouch for it. It has my stamp of approval, which seldom happens. So either get the CD or watch it on YouTube. But watch that, because we have to shift looking for our good out here. Because out here is shifting all the time, right? It's a moving object. So what's stable is that which is eternal, which is the infinite intelligence, love, principle that wants to care for its creation, and we happen to be that. So we shifted last week. We talked about shifting our awareness and our source of good from the outer into God, and allowing ourselves to go over creation's head in a way, this creation, and go to the Creator. Well, we're shifting it a bit again. See, that's really great metaphysics, and it's a powerful step. But today I want to move into a new phase, and that new phase is not just seeing God as our source, but actually moving into the realization that we are the source. We become the source. God's not our source. The source is us. To go along with that, that means that we could do what Jesus did and say things like this: the Father and I are one. And if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Now, Father in that particular statement comes from an Aramaic word that could also be interpreted as origin. So if you've seen me, you see what originates me. And the Father and I, the origin of all life and I, are one. Wow, and you know that's so true? I mean, think about it, how true that is. That's true because you know just by spending some time around somebody what their originating consciousness is, don't you? I mean, doesn't it sort of emanate? So they're either originating from a sense of faith or they're originating from a sense of fear, right? They're either originating from a sense of plenty or they're originating from a sense of insufficiency. Have you noticed that? And where they are, what's inside of them starts to show up in not only their face and their body, but their atmosphere, and then they see it everywhere. So we move from God is my source to I will be the source, because God and I are one. The origin and I are one. If you see me, you see what organizes me. For those people who are in the room and think I'm talking too much to Jesus, there's less and less of you around. I've scared you off, but just in case you're in the room, let's quote Hafiz. Hafiz, he was a Sufi mystic, he said, he has a poem that says, you say, I say, and it goes like this. You say, how can I find God? And I say, the friend. It is the lining of your pocket. It is the curved pink wall of your belly. Sober up. Steady your aim. Reach in and turn the universe and the lovely rascal inside out. And you say, that sounds preposterous. I don't really believe that God is in there. And I say, well, then go to the Himalayas. And you could get naked and pretend to be an exalted yogi, and you could eat bark and snow for 40 years. And then you say, hey, old man, why don't you just go shovel some snowflakes? Hafiz had a sense of humor. It's one of the reasons I like him. Actually, if you want a crazy mystic, it'd be Hafiz. So we're going to look at how we can move into a deeper awareness of God as our source, which means we go into a deeper forgiveness practice. Different than forgiving them, and even different than forgiving us. But to go into the deepest meaning of forgiveness, which means to be forgiving, that we're forgiving. We're forgiving. We realize that our life is forgiving. Jesus said in one of the interpretations, and there's a lot of them, one of the interpretations of the Lord's Prayer says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. We have to give first, and that will happen. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. We have to do it first. We have to be forgiving. Now, that's very, very difficult when we feel that we are threatened or lacking. Have you noticed? It's great to sit in here in the spa or at the gym. And we've all been doing our exercises. We sang great songs. We listened to a great prayer. We can feel very, very spiritually strong. And we can say, oh, yeah, I can forgive. And yeah, I can do all this. And then it's like, oh, up against it. That's where I think the spiritual rubber meets the road. When I am not feeling spiritually strong, or when I am faced with something I haven't faced before, or I'm faced with something I have not yet conquered, it's very difficult to do that kind of giving. It's very difficult to be the first to step forward and to start that flow. But there are some steps to work with. These are the steps to help us become the essence of that which we say we want. To no longer go into this I need or I want or I ask, but I am. To move into the holiest name that there is, which is I am. Here's how I would do it. First of all, ask yourself what you withhold. You might want to take some notes here. How many of you know you withhold things? Great, like 5% of you. Have I ever told you this thing about how truth heals? And that the truth shall set you free? How many of you withhold? Praise God. You know, first service, they actually think they're so holy. It took me 3 times asking before they finally raised their hands. But we all withhold, don't we? At some time or place, we withhold. It's okay to withhold, especially if you know you're withholding. So you've named it. So name what you withhold. Everybody got a name for that withholding? I withhold blah, whatever that is. Then, ask yourself, go deep inside, take a deep breath, move into your heart, and ask yourself, What is the belief that causes you to withhold? How many of you have a belief that you know, that you can identify that belief? Great, thank you. Now, in your mind and in the way that most works for you, give that belief to God. In a way that, you could do a 5-step treatment, you could do a 7-step treatment, you could do a here you go, you could put it under the chair and know that the divine custodian will pick it up later. You can, you can go, I don't care how you do it, but have the intention to give that belief to something greater than yourself, whatever you want to call it, to give away that belief. If you give away that belief, there will be an empty spot inside of you. And ask Spirit, God, Jehovah, Allah, Allah, to fill that empty spot. So as we give up, God will give forth, and then we can be forgiving that. We'll be forgiving that. And then you move into your day from that God place that you've just realized because you finally gave up that thing, whatever that thing is. Say something to yourself like, centered in of God, I move into my world, centered in that. Because what we were probably centered in is that belief that kept us from really being forgiving. We were withholding because of a belief, and we were centered in it. Now, this is all talk, and it's like being in one of those crazy, wonderful places where you hear a lot of information and you go home and say, I think it was good. Just don't know what happened. Can't recall it. So, it would be great to have an example. Who here knows that they withhold and would like to be healed? Oh, I saw those hands. Wow, that was good. I don't know. Cute, up and down with the hands. Okay, come on up. You're here, you're cute. And look, she's going fall colors, and so we can all appreciate autumn. Back. Okay, good. Okay, for all of you watching, donate right here. Hello.
And then we'll be the same height.
Yeah. No, okay. It's okay, you can be tall.
Okay.
I should have worn my bigger hair. Anyway. All right, so what is it you withhold?
I withhold trust.
You don't trust people? No, you withhold something else. What do you withhold?
Belief. I knew she'd do this to me.
That's what when you're around somebody, you don't just say, I'm withholding my trust. It's withholding means you can actually kind of observe it. What is you withhold?
I withhold myself. I withhold.
So when you're around people and you don't really engage, you're not authentic?
When I get fearful. I'm either or. I'm
Okay.
either really there or I'm kind of invisible.
Great. Who can identify with that? See, when you say trust, it's hard for us to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care about you. I care. Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
I care about all of us. Right. So I'm not here for you. I'm here for all of us. And so when you get really specific, it helps everybody identify. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you sometimes show up and authentic, and you are totally present in the room,
Yes.
and sometimes you're not.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody, now we get it, right? Okay. And what's the belief behind the withholding yourself?
That I don't deserve to be recognized.
We should hear rumble, 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 rumble. How many of you know that you've had that? I don't deserve to be recognized. Great. So there's a belief I'm not recognized.
Yeah.
And there's a belief I'm not recognized because I haven't been good enough.
I'm not worthy enough of being
Worthy enough to be
yeah.
recognized. Wow. How many of you can identify with that at times? How many of you would like to be healed? Great. So let's just take a deep breath. And can you identify that belief in your body someplace?
Yeah, it has shown up in my life as severe chronic pain, which I have none of
In this moment, right?
in this moment.
Yes.
And
Okay,
Yeah.
so you just identify it now, not
Okay.
in the past.
Yeah.
Can only operate. God only operates in the present.
Mm-hmm.
So see if there's a place in your body that you know you hold this little belief.
it's in my heart.
Great. So I'd like you to do is to breathe into that belief and then breathe it out. So wherever it is in your body, all of you, breathe in and then breathe it out. Great. So if that was totally gone and you were totally healed of that belief, what would God fill you up with?
Just an abundance of joy and presence.
Yeah, presence. You would show up present and be joyful.
Yes.
So we're going to do that prayer. How many of you would love that prayer? Great. So even though you brought it to our consciousness, this prayer is for everybody. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I know that there's one life, and that life is God's life, and that life is loving, that life is intelligent, that life is always present in its entirety. And as I know that about life itself and God itself, I know that about myself, that there is within me a presence, and it is filled with joy because God also expresses itself as the giggle of the universe. And that I can speak my word for myself and every person here, that the great inner teacher and healer, which is truth itself, is now dissolving within each person here that claims this prayer for themselves, is dissolving, dissolver of sugar, dissolve thou me. What is falling apart is the belief that we can ever be rejected because we're not worthy to be loved. That is a belief that has been in our spiritual DNA for eons, and we are now letting it go this day. That we may be filled with God's presence, which is joy and love, and we may act out of that presence in every present moment, filled with the assurity that God and we are a majority. And there can be no such thing as rejection in a universe of unity and love. So we let it go. And so it is. So if that's true, how would you show up tomorrow at 3 o'clock?
Fearless.
Fearless.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. So you kind of get the idea. This is what you would do for yourself, is what do I withhold? See, I've spent a lot of money on business coaches, and they would tell me what to do. But if my belief system didn't support what they told me to do, even when I did it, it didn't turn out well. And so now I've looked to see that it's much simpler to go inside and make some shifts inside. And then the doing becomes easier I live from the healing as opposed to the wounding. There's a difference. And it's really a powerful place to be. So thank you all for looking at, if you did, this idea of being rejected because you're not worthy and looking beyond that. Now I want to shift this just a tiny bit because we had a huge healing first service because somebody was brave enough to say one of the reasons that they don't give money is because they don't think there's enough. How many of you would fall into that category? Who would like to be healed? Come, Lisa. I'm doing it differently because we all know. You could get one book and know everything you need to know. But it's different to do what we need to do it. And it's easier to do it in a group. So we have one suspect, subject, and yet we can all benefit by what happens. This is sort of like homeopathy. A tiny bit of shift can shift the whole body. So thank you. So do you have an issue with, do you withhold money?
Yes,
And you withhold money because?
because I don't feel like I'm ever going to have enough.
How many of you have issues with enough? How many of you would like to heal that? Great. So, what is at the root of not enough? There's not enough. That you probably have evidence.
I was the youngest of 9.
Okay, do you continue to have evidence that there's not enough?
I think that what I do is I try to fill up with what I do have, so I buy material things.
Ah.
And then if I buy the material things to fill me up, which it doesn't, it's only temporary, then there isn't enough.
Yes. So you get to prove to yourself there's not enough.
Correct.
Perfect. Right. So all of you that believe there's not enough, look underneath that. And I want you to look underneath there's not enough. And what could be a belief that triggers not enough? What's the origin?
My origin is that I'm not worthy.
Your origin and you are one. If you've seen Lisa, you've seen her origin. But luckily for you and for everyone here and for me, that's not the true origin, that's a faux origin. And so let's go back to our original origin, the source of all life. Okay? So how many of you look underneath and see what's the core? We did this first service and they had a totally different core. See, not enough is a belief, but it's not the surface belief. It's what we've come to believe because we believe something deeper. Not enough is what would have been if love were not all. Unworthiness is what would have been if God were not all. If our origin were not God, if our origin was not love, if our origin is not our connection with the Most High, then stuff shows up. And so withholding is such a precious gift because it makes us ask why. And then when we ask why, we can get down to the root of things and shift at a very basic level. Otherwise, we're just rearranging the furniture on the Titanic or buying slipcovers. Okay? So you ready for healing?
Definitely. Yes.
Okay. Anybody else want a healing on the whole enough? I almost said stuff that I shouldn't say. Want to heal this enough stuff? Okay. So I know there's one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. And that life is my life now. And perfect means whole, complete, nothing missing, nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with life. There is nothing wrong with me. And as I know that about myself, I know that about Lisa and every person in this room. That we are the place where life shows up, where God shows up, where truth shows up, where love shows up. And so I give thanks that it is truth, because truth is the healer. Truth will set us free. So I give thanks that the truth, that God is the very origin of our life. It is what said, let there be, and we became. And it is what will say, you're done with this incarnation. Want to go play someplace else? It is the Alpha and the Omega of everything about us. It is our origin. It is our center. And so I give thanks that truth is dissolving any idea of unworthiness. Truth is dissolving any fear of surrendering into the infinite. Truth is dissolving this idea of not enough, because I've looked at the universe and I've seen plenty. And so I give thanks that the truth now fills us with itself, and we know the sufficiency and the infinite security of God as us. And we move into our life and to our very essence, everything that we do from that place. I am the sufficiency of God. I am the support of God. I am the fullness and the satisfaction of God. I am that which I claim that I want. I have been it always, and I will always be that. And I claim it now for Lisa and every person here, and I will accept nothing else. And God be God and do something now. Amen.